Hey everyone, welcome back. You got some people coming in. So we are like heading into the home stretch of these workshops. We've got two more left. This afternoon, we are doing websites for this one, which I'm going to try to concentrate lots of information into a pretty short workshop. We could just talk for a long time about the websites themselves. Everybody coming in. And then we're going to do social media after that too. So want to finish this off with a lot of like tangible stuff. And like I said, we could do a lot of information about websites, but I thought what is the most helpful is probably going through the mistakes. And I thought if I could clear up some mistakes to kind of help you guys, I imagine that a lot of people in the group are DIYing it with your website. Do you guys have a website? Just raise your hand if you already have one. Okay, great. Are you raise your hand again if you do your own website, do your own website design stuff? Yeah, so most people are DIYing. And that's totally awesome. And I support you guys on that and applaud you. But it's good to know what are some mistakes to avoid on the site. And also, it's great that you guys are doing it yourself because you can go in and make some of these changes yourself today, this weekend, or over the next couple weeks. So I'm going to share my screen. We'll get into it. Let's see. Okay, session number 7. I can't believe that we've done, man, this is crazy doing like a 2-day event. We've gone through so much information together and so many of the same faces showing up for all of these workshops. So that's been really fun. I feel like you guys, instead of just dipping in and out, have been really here with me. And I appreciate that. I really do. So today, this part, we're talking about what mistakes am I making on my website, building a profitable digital home. And that's really where I want to start off with. Some of you guys I know have seen me speak about branding in other people's masterminds or at other events. And so you may have bumped up against me talking about this metaphor already. Apologies for that. But I think a lot of people probably this is the first time that you're coming up with this. And I'm thinking like, I like to have like a real sense of my website as being a home, as being a place where we've just been working with avatars, right? So where your ideal avatar comes to your site and they feel like they're at home. They feel like it's an extension of you. They feel like they really get a sense, it's just pixels and colors and spacing, but there's a lot that we can do in our copywriting and the type of photography that we either get done professionally or that you choose on stock photography sites, which luckily are very good now. When I first started in this industry, stock photography was really laughable. And it's funny because people still use stock photography in a very laughable kind of way, like very literal and corny, but there's a lot of really nice free stock photography out there. My two favorite sites to use are unsplash.com and pexels.com. That's PEXELS.com. Both free, open source. You can use them for your site. So I think sourcing out some really good photography can help to apply the brand. And when you're thinking about the visuals, go back to the words, the words that we mapped out yesterday. So how you want people to feel, what your brand voice is, and start looking for photography that matches that, especially if you don't have the budget to go out and get professional pictures done. But if we kind of further this metaphor and think about website as home, I like to think about the homepage as being your digital living room. And so that's something to think about as you like explore your website, as you design it, or if you work with a designer, is to think about that homepage as the digital living room. And there's different ways to approach this based on your brand. So an example that I like to use is the thinking about like somebody who has maybe like a therapy practice, or so maybe like a relationship coach or an energy worker, or maybe something like that, where the words that you might use are like connection and intimacy and healing. And how would you want that digital living room to feel? And like I'm really attracted to like using the five senses, like this is just, pixels on a screen, right? But how do we, it's almost like the thing that's coming to mind for me is like those magic eye paintings or posters, and how you just kind of have that flat surface, but there's a trick that allows it to become like more 3D, have that depth to it. And so the question that I like to always come back to with myself, with clients, and with students as well is like, how do we take the pixels that are just on a screen and make them really pop, really make them come to life? And part of that is visual, and part of that is how you structure it, the layout. Part of it is copywriting. Part of it is photography, but also part of it right now is just setting an intention. So do you feel, if I offered two different scenarios, and thinking about that continuum that we were working with before, do you feel more drawn to having like a digital living room that's like someone opens the door and they open to this like small but beautiful and cozy room where there's like really comfy chairs to sit on? It's funny because like these metaphors just seem very different in like COVID times, around like going to someone's home and things like that. But let's neutralize that that experience and think about it like just in a COVID free world. So going into someone's living room where there's a big comfy couch, maybe like some nice like rugs on the floor, there's a roaring fire, there's like little like ottoman poof pillows like all around. You can sit in candles, and just a place where it feels like, you're going to get offered a cup of tea to sit down and have this like really quiet, intimate conversation, a really deep connection. So that's one way, that feels like heading towards one side of the continuum, where there's this real like connected intimacy in the living room. So we're using just this living room metaphor. And then I can move it around on this side of the continuum. I can think of something that's um like an LA based wellness center that's just like everything's like white and really pristine, and the staff are like very professional, but also a little like not disconnected, but just like like professional and holding themselves like kindly. But it's not that like quiet, intimate, it's not like everybody knows your name kind of thing. It's just like Mr. or Miss someone. We're gonna have sit you down and have you fill out this paperwork, and everything looks very like professional and elite. That's another way of doing it. That's still like, that's the digital living room. That's the digital like foyer, that you're stepping into. And I like to think about it that way. I don't know if you find this metaphor helpful, but I definitely do. When I'm thinking about design, I think we redesigned our website just a few months ago. And I was really thinking about like, how do I want people to feel when they step into our digital space, and I wanted them to feel inspired. I wanted them to feel like there was enough breathing room, and we'll get to that in terms of design aesthetics. Like I wanted to feel like there was enough space and not crowded, and like I was kind of friendly and approachably waiting at the door to just guide them in and be like, hey, this is who I am. This is what we do. This is what I'm excited about. Let me walk you through my home so you can get excited about what we do as well. And that could take place of like case studies or portfolio pieces, or having a really good opening paragraph, little section that really like connects with your audience. So I think that's a really great foundational place to start, is this concept of website as home. And when we get down into the nitty gritty, and maybe you haven't heard this put quite this way before because there's a lot of competing information out there. But in my mind, your website has one main goal, And a lot of people think that goal is to sell, and it's not necessarily to sell. I mean, the websites, especially nowadays, because we have social media and sales funnels and email marketing, the website sometimes becomes a little more than like a glorified business card. It's like a digital business card. It's like exists in space to let people know what your services are and packages and a little bit about you. But the main goal of the website, as I see it, is to collect information. The website, and that's why I'm a big stickler for a website having some kind of opt-in, mailing list opt-in very early on, above the fold, first thing that we see when we go to your homepage. So when I say above the fold, I mean, what can you see on the screen when I first click on your website? What is that? What's at the top? Maybe I see a picture of you, maybe I see your logo, I see navigation, but I like to have some kind of opt-in there at the top so people see it right away. The thing about collecting info is, and you may not have this now, especially if you're just getting started. You may be listening, being like, I'm just trying to get the website up and running. And that's great. But think about, have a plan of what are you going to do when you start collecting this information? How does this work in a holistic picture? So the website is very rarely going to be the place where you sell. Where you're going to sell is within some kind of sales funnel. So and maybe that's a long-term relationship of developing like a know, like, and trust vibe with your people. Or it could just be as simple as somebody opting into the mailing list, going through and filling out their information to get whatever your freebie is. I think you should have a freebie. Usually a PDF is really helpful. And I've heard a rule of thumb that, like, with that PDF, people should be able to consume it within a few minutes. I think there's this real pressure to create this like PDF freebie that's like 30, 50, 100 pages long, or an ebook or something like that. It's really just a taster. And I like to think of, this is kind of like a side tangent about sales funnels, but I like to think about the funnel process of like the website collecting info of a series of answering and then opening up new questions. And I think that's a good way to think about it, where if you kind of work backwards, and we have a little bit of data now about our avatar. So say you just take your avatar and you know how you want to serve them. You've already written down some ideas of how you can support them. You have a 6-month wellness weight loss package. I would start working backwards to think, like, what is the first thing? And there's no perfect answer to this. So you can test out lots of different lead magnets, PDFs. But I like to start thinking in reverse engineering and saying, if that's my ideal client and this is how I'm going to support them, what is the first question that they have? What's the first problem that they have that I can help them solve with a 2 to 3 page PDF, right? So for us, it was, if we want to get an ideal avatar is somebody who's ready for a rebrand, for example. That's just one of them. So I would start thinking, that's probably someone who, if I reverse engineer it, is thinking um, either something along the lines of like, how do I hire an agency? Maybe they're like somebody who's DIY'd it for the longest time, and they're just like, I want to hire a professional now, but I don't really know how to, like, what are the steps to hire an agency? Okay, so we created a guide for that, a guide, 5 steps to hire an agency. I think this person is also thinking about, they need to like start planning for what their brand is going to be next year or next month. And so we did the brand planner toolkit, because we want to try to identify somebody who's at the stage where they're planning the brand. And so each one along these steps of the sales funnel, each thing answers a question and it opens up a new question too. So, it answers the question of, like, 5, I don't know, maybe someone's question is just like, how do I get healthy? Like, how do I start losing weight? So you have, like we talked about, like with Alexandra, we were talking about, guides, just having some kind of prompts. And that helps. It's something that people should be able to consume in a couple minutes. And then the creative part is wondering what's the next question. And when you have the next question, like that next question might be, okay, so how do I do it? That first little PDF or freebie, what's helpful about that is to just kind of diagnose some problems or agitate some problems so that people they get to the end of the PDF, they're like, great, that was helpful because I feel like I learned a little more about what may be going on, but now what do I do about it? And that's when the natural, like, you want to make it so it's natural that you're the person that people work with. And I'm trying to synthesize like lots of sales funnel psychology and really distill it down into one little bite-sized chunk. But that's the way that I like to think about it when I'm thinking sales funnels, is just like a series of very logical next steps. Okay, you got the brand planner toolkit, you did the work, you know that you need like this, everything that we did in the brand scanning. That's what I have in my PDF for people. If it's a freebie, it's just like, yeah, because what I want people to see is I want them to rate the branding and I want them to rate the website. So they're just like, if they're at a 2 and a 2 or a 4 and a 4, or and they're going, I'm actually rating my website branding really low. Maybe it's time for me to hire someone. So then we're like, what's the next step? How do I hire an agency? Okay, what's the next step? Here's a webinar for you to watch that tells you a little bit more about building a great brand. Okay, what's the next step? Why don't you get on a call with us? So I'm thinking next step, ascending somebody up this ladder of working with you until they become a paid client. And the website becomes the first place for that. We don't do anything really on our website besides try to collect information, either that's somebody opting into a freebie. And that's not to say you can't sell things on your website, because sometimes I know we had people on here who were e-commerce, product-based businesses. That's a little different. Sorry if I might be breaking up right now because I just saw a thing that my internet's unstable. Let me see in the chat.
Your audio is cutting out sometimes.
Yes, thank you. That's why I went into the chat, because I'm like, I saw this thing that my internet was unstable. It's the pleasures and also the pain of living in a farmhouse. Is the internet has to go through really thick walls, so sometimes it doesn't work. So all right, let's move on. Let's get out of the sales funnel hallway that we went down, but hopefully that's helpful to think about how to structure the sales funnel. And let's get into the common mistakes. The first one's really simple, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but it's about not having one. So if you're at a place where you don't have a website, I'm a big supporter in getting one. There are so many ways to just do your own websites right now. If don't have a budget to hire a designer, there's Wix, there's Squarespace, you've got WordPress. There's lots of places to get stuck into having a website. Number two, this is where we kind of get into like the meatier parts. And number two is just having no clear call to action. That's what a CTA is. If this is the first time you've come across that acronym, you'll see that a lot in marketing, CTA. And the way that I like to think about this, especially for the homepage, is your website is your opportunity to be really clear and really take your ideal prospect by the hand. That you don't have a lot of time on a website. People are popping in and they're popping off. I mean, like, think of the last time you just went randomly. Maybe 5 years ago or 10 years ago, we did this a lot more, but we do a lot of connecting and researching on social media, a lot of us now, or in groups. I remember back in the day, like, you'd go to a website to follow their blog or read their blog post, but there's very few websites that I actually go to nowadays where I go into the browser and I type in the website. So you probably think about your own journey of how you get onto someone's website. It's more likely that you have typed something into Google and then that brought up their site and you're doing a little research and then you jump onto their site. But what you need to do, be able to do, is to very quickly capture the attention of your ideal avatar. That's through your pictures, your branding, your copywriting, especially that top headline right there. We worked a little bit through our brand statements yesterday, and that's something that would be really helpful either in that top section or in the next section, which I kind of consider a little bit of like a welcome section. So section, I like to have a headline at the top that's pretty clear and calls out to your ideal audience, and then underneath a sentence or two that really establishes like what you want to get as early on as possible is that feeling of like, I'm in the right place. If we like apply the living room metaphor, it's like opening the door and you're just like looking around and it feels like it's a place that you want to be versus opening the door and looking around and being like, I'm in the wrong room. And sometimes we feel that online, right? You open the door and you're just like, this isn't the right. Like I feel that when I'm looking for, I don't know, some kind of service, or say I was looking for like a business coach or something. And say I opened the door and I got into this like, I don't know, something that's like hyper masculine and really sales driven and like neuro linguistic programming to try to get people to like, there's just that kind of like, yeah, like bait and switchy salesy kind of thing. Like I'm going to open that door and very quickly be like, I'm not in the right room and close it up. And then I'm like opening this door to find somebody who's teaching about sales and sales calls in a way that really feels like it resonates with me. So how do we make sure that when people open that door, they're only going to open it for a brief second? What do you have, like, I don't know the stats, but it's like a second or 3 seconds. If anybody knows the stats to this, pop it in the chat. But how many seconds do you have before somebody just pops off of your website? So you have like minuscule amount of time to just hook their attention. So you can hook their attention with branding that resonates, but also words that resonate too. But I like uh, on very quickly on is when we offer a call to action that's clear. We are the leaders on our website. It's not fair to, yeah, I'm thinking like, is it not fair? Yeah, it's not fair to have a site that doesn't offer direction to your people. It doesn't serve them. It doesn't serve anybody to come to your website. No one should come to your website and not know what to do next. That's how I feel about it. And I feel strongly about that. I think in good design, you know exactly where to go next. If I go to your website, don't give me lots of choices. Don't give me lots of trying to figure it out for myself, because there's the phrase, a confused brain like doesn't make a choice. If your brain is confused, and it will just shut down and say, nope, sorry, I'm going somewhere else. I'm going to go find the person that will tell me exactly what to do. And what does that look like? It looks like a non-cluttered interface. It looks like, don't give me every choice for every service that you offer. Don't give me every choice for everything there is. Help me as your ideal client. When I get to your site, I want to know, am I the right person? Do you understand me? Okay, I'm going to look at the headline. I'm going to look at right at the top your freebie. Is that something that I want? Is that something that's going to help me? Oh, you have 5 ways to get healthy for the new year. Great, that's timely. I'm going to put in my information. If not, it doesn't speak to me. I'm going to look a little further down. I'm just like, okay, that first paragraph there, that sounds like me. I'm a busy mom looking to lose weight. I don't have a lot of time. I don't spend a lot of time investing in myself. From Roz's thing yesterday, like I resonate with this message. What do I do? Where do I go next? If you're just thinking like you want to capture that feeling of you're really speaking to me, this is really me, you're really the person who could potentially help me, then you give people the option. You just kind of handhold them through your site and say, here's where I want you to go next. That's why I'm a big fan of having a page that's just called Start Here. Also a button somewhere on your homepage that links to that page. Not sure where to get started? Start here. That takes them to a page where exactly, and this is going to be different for every business depending on how you sell, what you sell, whether you do sales calls with people or not, whether you have online products, because some people have online programs and products that they don't need to get on a sales call with somebody. You can actually walk people through your site and get them to a place where you could potentially make a sale right there. But it's for most of us, we're service providers, and we are trying to probably get somebody on a sales call to book a service or a bigger package with us. In which case, the start now page is your opportunity to tell people, like, take the next steps, like step one is to sign up, where, like I said, the website is all about capturing information. So that step one should be, give us your email address in exchange for this piece of information that's going to help you on the first step of your journey. It's as simple as that. Email address in exchange for a freebie. That should take up the top real estate of that start here page. Then as you go down the page, your choice, you can give them some information about yourself. We are XYZ company. This is our founder. Learn more about us here. Then I like having, like, maybe underneath of that a section that's like, these are our services. You can learn more about our services here. And then at the bottom, having something that's like, here's how to dig into some education. We have blog posts for you to read. We have a podcast for you to listen to. We have whatever it is, whatever your flavor, and we'll talk about that next, like the social media content creation part of it. Whatever your flavor of content is, allow people some education there. Yeah, lots of information about call to action. This kind of like matches this one, the mistake too complicated on the homepage, kind of like links up with just having too many choices. I have a rule to never have more than 3 choices at a time. And then when you open up a new page, you can give people more choices. So does that make sense? If you have several, like if you have a bunch of different offers for a bunch of different people that you work with, I want to have them self-identify on the homepage and say, how can you chunk the information up into the small, like into the broadest categories, and then have people make a second choice. So if you have, like, some people have like 6 different choices that you could do on the homepage, like you have services, you could have about page, you could have contact us, you could do this. No, I like to just bring that in, make it really not complicated. I ideally like a start here page. I like about us, and I like services. I don't think you need contact right there when you have choices, because people know how to find your contact information. It's either up in the corner or it's down in the bottom. At least it should be somewhere in the footer, somewhere in the header. We don't need to like use any real estate on that homepage. I like a simple homepage. I don't like these really long scrolling, lots of information. I want it to be easy, easy for people to know what's the next step. This one is a real like pet peeve of mine. Really, really helpful to see this as a mistake, and that's sending users offsite too soon. And what I mean by that is in the hierarchy of how you place everything on your site. A lot of people have their social media stuff kind of up at the top in the navigation, and it's not terrible to have it up there, but um, I think the thing that I like worse is when people have like stuff on the homepage pretty early up on the homepage too, that's sending people off to follow us on Facebook, come and check out our Instagram. Think about yourself maneuvering through the internet and think about how much of a like a goldfish brain we have. I can pick up my phone, and I'm sure you guys do this too. I have something in my mind that I'm going to look up. I pick up my phone. I have a notification. I go to my notification. Suddenly I'm on Instagram. Then I'm like looking at something else. I'm scrolling, and I've totally forgotten like the reason why I picked up my phone. So it's the same with people on your website. It's like people are not so interested in any of us that they're just like, I got to go back to Nicole's site because that I was going to go through every page of her site. Someone comes to my site, one of the first things they see is me being like, come follow me on Instagram. They go over there. Luckily, it'd be lucky if they actually click on the follow button. So you at least have them in your ecosystem somewhere. But that's a best case scenario, and they're off on Instagram doing something else. And there's nothing wrong with that person. It's just the way that we're oriented around our devices and how easy it is to just get distracted. And so I think, your best case scenario is to invite people. Actually, what I really like is inviting people to follow you on social media through an email autoresponder that's like the third or fourth part in the autoresponder. So what do I mean by that? I mean, yeah, at the bottom of your website, have a little Instagram thing, have Facebook, have Pinterest, all the social media channels. It's important that people can be able to follow you in different places. Push it way down in the hierarchy of your site. Really try to capitalize on getting people to give you their email address. Even still, like the beauty is in having that mailing list. That still is one of the most powerful places to connect and to sell with people. So you want people on that mailing list, and that's something that you own. It's not Facebook changing their algorithms or Instagram doing the same. It's not you getting your account deactivated accidentally by posting the wrong thing, and now you can't communicate with your like 10,000 followers. Your mailing list is something that you own. And so prioritize getting people on the list. And then through the mailing list, once you already start having that initial communication with them, like, and then they get they sign up for the freebie, they get the freebie, you send it to them. Then the second email is like a little more education piece. And that third email can be, I like having that third or fourth email in like a welcome autoresponder sequence, being like, hey, follow us in other places. And that's where you have an opportunity, like, and this isn't a rule, it's just the way that I like to do it, is to just have like that be an email that's just like, hey, we love, and tell them why they should follow you. Like, we love posting on Instagram every Friday. We post our roundup of our top 5 favorite recipes of the week or something like that. So give them a reason to follow you, give them a couple of choices, and then get people following you on multiple social media. But I really don't like that as one of the first tactics to get people like at the top of the website. So all that's to say is a mistake sending users off site too soon. Hopefully I justified it with a little bit of a technique or a way of getting people to follow you on social media, but just not as the first thing. Get them on the mailing list, get them on, like, staying on your website for longer and not sending them off too soon. I think that this is my last one here. Let's see. Yep. So my last one, and this is less about design and more about copywriting. And that's an about page that is all about you. And I put this on here because it's something that I see all the time. And I used to be so like, this was me too. So if I can share any wisdom about an updated about page, you think it should be all about you, right? So many people lead with their official bio, like Nicole Harlow is a master's level graduate of da da da, that like third person official bio. And the thing is, like, no one cares, really. No one cares. No one is that interested. We're on your website because we want to know, can you help me? Can you help me identify what's wrong? Give me the shortest amount, give me the best result in the shortest amount of time. And are you the right personality that resonates with me? And so I think for me, the about page, my ideal about page is structured where that first opening paragraph is way more about the other person than it is about you. That's where we have our brand statement. That's where we have our client avatar. We can use that open real estate because the about page, I believe, is the second most I don't know if the stats have changed since the last time I researched this, but is the second most looked at page on your website. So people will go to the homepage and then they'll go to the about page because they're curious about you. But when you lead on the about page with a really boring bio, like people are like, it's news, I'm out. Now, if you lead with a connecting paragraph that's just like some questions like, hey, are you a busy mom that wants to get healthy but really doesn't know how to take the time to support yourself? You're always doing things for your family. You're never taking the time to do anything for yourself. And in the process, your body and your health is really suffering. So you lead with something like that. You want to hook the ideal avatar, um, get them hooked in there with that opening paragraph. And that's where it transitions to your story. And I think it was Roz yesterday was talking about story brand, spending some time really like getting into your story and how to communicate that is like a special skill. I'm not a copywriter, so I can only offer this guidance about how to structure the copy page, but not so much about how to write the story itself, other than to just kind of bring us back to what we were talking about yesterday, which is most of us have a transformation story. Most of us have a story that deeply connects with either A, why we're passionate about the community that we work with, or B, a lot of us actually have the transformation story that matches our ideal. For many of us, we are our ideal clients, but we are just further on. You know, we are the person that not that long ago had chronic fatigue, learned how to heal it, and now wants to help people on their journey. We're the person that has a rags to riches business story that we want to be a business coach or a financial wealth abundance mindset a person or a healer or a yoga teacher or a health coach or anything like that. I think most of us have a story of transformation. So I like to structure it where that first paragraph hooks in the ideal customer, gets them really like, yeah, that really feels like me. And then what did we say yesterday that the number one copywriting tip is to be able to say, I know exactly how you feel. I'm a bit busy mom. I used to not really respect my body at all. I was overweight. Had had chronic fatigue. I had cortisol issues. I was deeply unhappy, anxious, depressed, whatever it is. This is your opportunity to transition into your story. Now, this is where it gets fun because the question is I get sometimes is how long should an about page be? And the thing is, the about page can be, as long as you follow this formula, the about page can be as long as you want it to be. You can tell your story from when you were born to all the way to today. And there is a certain amount, just when we did the like 20% super fan, 60% and 20%, there is a percentage of the population that are information absorbers. They want to read more about you, and the more that you give them, the more that they'll keep reading. And so you can put in pictures of yourself, you can put in pictures of your family, you can put in I've seen people do like 20 facts about me, 20 fun facts that you wouldn't know about me. So you can get creative here as long as you hook at the top and let people know right underneath, like pretty succinctly, that you went through the same transformation. How did you go about your healing? Now you offer services to help them go through their own transformation. Have a button underneath that that says, learn how to work with us. Right. And then for everybody else who is just curious, then I like to kind of start a new paragraph and say, like, like, I don't know, the long version or something creative that just lets people know, like the unofficial bio. And then I think that's like a kind of a cute way of doing it, of like having the unofficial bio, and then people can kind of hear your story or my story in my own words or something like that. So you can go deeper into the story. And then at the very bottom, that's where I like to have the official bio. So all that stuff that most people are putting at the top, like that official third person bio, I put it down at the bottom. And then that's where I would put like media images, or if you have some kind of media kit, or if you have like some more pictures of yourself, and you can put social media down there. Like, here's where you can follow me on social media. But I want to bury that like down at the bottom of the page, because people know if they're looking for an official bio, they're usually like a podcast host or like a media person, and they can just scroll to the bottom and just kind of get that. Now, some people are thinking probably like, how do I do credibility? Like, how do I think you can kind of pepper that at the top, and you can have that on your homepage too. So like a logo reel, or if you have credentials, I like to kind of showcase those on the homepage. Or another way of doing that too is to have like a sidebar on your site, and on like the right or the left hand side, that's where you have like logos and like your credentials, so people know like she's got a master's degree, and she's a doctor who went to Northwestern, and she's been featured, in NBC and Fox News and I don't know, Wall Street Journal, and all these things. Like, have that like on either side, or kind of have it close to the top too. It's such a dense topic going through the website. So here's an exercise that I want to do. Let's see, time wise. Yep, we just got enough time, just perfectly, to do this. This is one just like we were doing before. We'll take a couple minutes just to go through this. And it's agree and disagree. So we're on gradations of agreeing and disagreeing with these statements. So we can work through this together, just in case I have anything little to say for each one. The first one is, I have a website that's easy to edit and maintain. And the reason why I put this on here is because for me, it's very important that you be able to make changes yourself. And I said we recommend Wix and Squarespace for students and clients. WordPress is fine too, but for me, the worst case scenario is if you have, unless you're like a big business and you have a lot of money to spend, I don't like to see small business owners with websites that you're not able to go in and maintain yourself, that you're not able to go in and easily edit. So if you have a site where, just move that little circle on either side. Next one is, my homepage has a clear call to action on the homepage. I already explained this above the fold. In the top section, we want to have the CTA, ideally to join your mailing list or to sign up for a freebie that would automatically add them to your mailing list. I deeply prefer some kind of freebie first versus mailing list. Everybody is on so many different mailing lists. I mean, how many emails do you get every single day? I make like a competitive sport out of unsubscribing to everything. I love Black Friday and like Cyber Monday, because everybody emails you with some deals. And I'm just like, I spend like the day just unsubscribing to everyone. I'm just like, nope, 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 nope. But that's like a good day for me to just get emailed, spammed by everyone. And I get to see what I've signed up for, in the last like year. So I prefer to have a freebie versus a mailing list, because I think a lot of people are just not that interested in getting on just a mailing list just to hear from you. We want to see what we can get. Next one, my website reflects my brand colors, fonts, and icons. Making sure whether you agree or disagree with that. This is, once you have brand guidelines, stick to them. We talked about this a little bit earlier, the disconnect between when someone has branding and you go into their sales funnel or you go to their website and suddenly the colors are different, or the fonts are different, or the spacing is all weird, the imagery doesn't really work. It just kind of sets off where buyers visually online, we're becoming way more discerning, way more sophisticated, and basically our bullshit meters are much more sophisticated than they ever have been. And so you'll start to get those warning bells of like, yeah, I don't know if this is, either is this not worth it, or maybe this is even scammy. Next one is, my homepage is clear and concise. After the top header and the opt-in bar, I have a clear welcome message and no more than 3 choices for users to navigate to next. So we can move that slider. That's pretty clear, and if your website isn't set up like this, it's pretty easy to go in and make changes for these things too. And then the last one is, there is a user-friendly flow to my website. When a new user lands on my site, I've made it clear what I'd like them to do next, so that it feels like I'm guiding them through the website. This one may be a little bit harder. It takes a little bit more like in-depth analysis of going, just really critically analyzing your site to see if it does have a user-friendly flow. And you know what, you can always, many of us are part of online groups like mastermind groups or in Facebook groups with other entrepreneurs or have entrepreneurial friends. And I would ask people to actually go through, send them a link, go through the site and ask them to give you feedback. Ask them to give you feedback if they didn't know you at all and they just like landed on your site. Would it be clear? Would they know exactly who that site is for? Would they know exactly what to do next? And look at your own site with a critical eye too, to see if there's a user-friendly flow to the site that guides you from hitting that homepage to what you want them to do, which is ideally sign up for your mailing list so you can continue to market to them. Because not the amount of people that are ready to buy when they hit your website is very, very small. So creating a website and going, this website doesn't convert, the expectation shouldn't really be that that cold traffic, that people who don't know you at all should come to your website and be totally ready to buy something, especially if it's like a higher ticket package, like a 3-session coaching session or something like that. So I think err on the side of getting a freebie out to people, getting people on the mailing list, and then continuing to have a good marketing plan of how often do you write to your mailing list, how often do you have promotions, and continue to move people along that continuum of going from cold traffic, they don't know you, to the point where they want to work with you and they're ready to buy, to the point where they're a super fan and they want to keep buying. Let's see questions in the chat. Hey, everybody. I like when I come back and I get to see your faces. Let's see what we got here. Oh, just talking about storming. Yeah, we have a storm here too. That's why it's all dark and my internet is kind of crappy. Yeah, clicking the back button very quickly. Dr. Irene, I love this. Dr. Irene's asking about how about buttons for our different demographics, personal versus corporate start here. I love on the homepage getting people to self-identify as quickly as possible. And so if you give them the opportunity to say, and this could be, if you think about your avatar, if you've got 2 or 3 different avatars, have the avatars raise their hand as soon as possible. And by raising their hand, I mean click a button. So if they come to your website and you have the big header and then you have a place for them to opt into the mailing list, have some questions, underneath of that. And that's what I'm saying, no more than 3, but are you a corporate professional? Are you looking for a training program? Like, just get people to self-select one of those buttons, and that starts the journey. It's like we were talking about yesterday with the CBD and parents of special needs versus my client. She also had dog biscuits. So that would be a great thing when you get to her website, to get people to self-identify, I have a dog, and they can click on that. And then you can have a special freebie specifically for that population. Right. But just getting people as quickly as possible to just go into buckets. I've heard them called buckets before too. Just like get them in a bucket, and then you can start a more targeted mailing email campaign. What about leading with your story, which is your ICA story? Yeah, I think if that story is very deeply like your story of transformation is their transformation, I think you can lead with that on your homepage. And I think you can lead with that also on your about page. Opt-in pop-up. I think they work. I think they annoy people. But I think I would just, I was looking at somebody's site the other day in a brand audit, and I said, I couldn't find where to opt in for your mailing list. And she said, oh, it's on a pop-up. And I was just like, yeah, I clicked that off without even thinking about it. As I was doing her brand audit, My job was to audit her branding and I clicked it off and didn't even think about it. So I was like, yeah, I think you should probably put it on your homepage too. If anybody else is like me, they just don't even pay attention to it. So even when it's my job, I still clicked it off. I was like, annoying. I didn't even read it. I was like, I think it said something about 50% off. Okay. Yeah, Jade. So what I'm gonna do is, because there's a lot of the video, so I'm recording everything, but there's a lot of pauses where it's you guys off doing like being in your groups and like me looking at my phone. So I'm probably like walking around. So I'm recording the whole thing, but we're having a video editor go in this weekend and just clean these up so they're not big spaces of blankness or just me. And we're gonna send them off on Monday, all of the recordings plus all the slides and then the workbook. So you guys will have these too. Yes. So I think let's take a break. We're at 2:51. We're going to come back in about 10 minutes for our last session of the 2 days. Oh my God. You guys know I like got in bed at like 8 p.m. last night. It was just like, I'm tired. My jaw was hurting. Like I talked more in the last 2 days than I have in a long time. I'm like, yeah. So we're going to come back. We're going to talk about social media, which everybody loves to hate, including myself. So coming from I'm going to talk to you about social media from someone who hates social media. So trust me, I've got some techniques to make it a little bit less painful than it is for a lot of us. So let's come back here in 10 minutes and I'll see you guys too. Yeah. Dr. Dorothy says, lovely. I hate it too. I think we can all connect to that. Bye, guys.